Okay, here's chapter 9. Um, we know back in 7, Dad found out through Judd calling him angrily that Marty was spying on him over there, sneaking around because someone knocked over his mailbox, and he's telling him he thinks Marty did it because he'd been sneaking around there before, and that's how Dad finds out Marty's been sneaking around there, and so Dad has a talking to with Marty. When Marty says I didn't do it, Dad's like, hey, you've lied before, so why should I believe you now? And so Marty's going to have to work on earning his dad's trust back. And Dad says, stay away from Judd. Absolutely stay away. And just try to stay out of trouble. And then chapter 8, on a Sunday afternoon, they decide to play hide and go seek. And while they're playing hide and go seek, Becky goes missing. And that's where we are. We can't find Becky. So let's see what happens in chapter 9. It's when I remember I last saw Becky sitting on the path to the far meadow that my legs like to give out. Becky! I yell again. Dad comes to the screen. What's the matter, Marty? We can't find Becky, I say. We were playing hide and seek and I can't find her. He comes out on the porch, and then Ma. What? Says Ma. Her face looks all pulled around the edges. I tell it again. Where did you see her last? Asks Ma, hurrying down the steps. Up on the path. I point to the steep dirt trail that leads up to the woods and the far meadow. I told her not to go up there, and she sat down. Then Darrell Lynn hurt her toe, and I don't remember if I saw Becky after that. Ma's running now, heading for the path. The sky's got that in-between look, and isn't day, isn't evening. Everything looks sharp and focused, but you know it's not for long. Where's Shiloh? Ma calls over her shoulder. If Becky wandered off, how come he didn't go with her? Shiloh is stretched out on the ground between the house and the shed, just enjoying himself. Why isn't he with her? Ma cries again, and she looks with such anger at my dog it scares me. What good is he if he can't protect Becky? Ma, I say, then she turns on me. You should have watched her. Get the flashlight, son, says Dad. Darlene, you go in the house in case she shows up there. Don't let her wander off again. I tear into the house and grab the flashlight from off the top of the refrigerator, and then back out. Shiloh sees all the excitement now, and he's up on his feet, ready to join in. I feel empty and rattling, like all my ribs are knocking together. How much should you expect from a dog, after all? How does he know where Becky's supposed to go and where she isn't? He's only been with us a month or so. Becky! Ma's yelling into the bushes on either side of her, and I follow her up the hill. Becky! Yells Dad. Where are you? Yell so we can hear you. Somewhere far off I hear a gun again. At least I think it's a gun. Could have been a firecracker, I suppose. It's hard to tell sometimes. I look at Dad, though, and he heard it. And he heard it too. It's a gun. I can tell by his face. We get to the fork in the path. Go left, and you end up in woods, up near where I hid Shiloh, where I built his pen. Go right, you come to the meadow where I'd run him sometimes. Nobody could see us from below. Marty, says Dad, you sit right here and keep your eye on the yard. What I don't want to happen is for Becky to wander back home, think we're all gone, and go off again. Okay, I say, and hand over the flashlight to him. He heads for the woods. Ma takes the meadow, and I sit on the big flat rock at the fork where David and I used to play spaceship sometimes. I don't sit down so much as I sink. I just got a thought so terrible that it makes my knees give out in earnest. What if Judd Travers is up here hunting deer with a light? Some hunters do that way, which is about the lowest way you can hunt a deer. Stun it with a powerful light, and when it stops dead still in front of you, shoot it with a rifle. But that's not the terrible thought. That's just for starters. What if, because I didn't report Judd to the game warden when he killed that doe out of season, he feels he can get away with it again? If I'd reported him, maybe they would have taken away his license or something. But because I wanted Shiloh so bad, I didn't say nothing. And maybe saying nothing is why Becky's missing now. Maybe one of those stray bullets found her, and I traded Becky for Shiloh. I bend over, hugging my stomach like I got belly cramps. So scared my arms are shaking. How can you think you're doing the right thing and it's maybe not right at all? Down below in the yard, I can see Shiloh standing up, looking around. I thought he'd follow us up here. Been wanting to so bad to come. Guess when you scold a dog 4 times in one day, he learns a little something. But why couldn't he have learned to stick with Becky? Why wouldn't he just naturally know that Becky, being the smallest, needed him most? Becky! Becky! I can hear I can hear my ma yell. There's no answer. It's going to get dark right soon now. It's already black back in the trees. I can see the spotty yellow from Dad's flashlight from time to time. Then it disappears again. 10 minutes go by. Which is worse? Which is worse, I'm thinking. Sitting here waiting for Becky or lying in the weeds beside David Howard when Judd is yelling, "Who's there?" and was starting over with his gun to find us. I think I'd choose to be back there and take my chances at Judd's. At least what was happening or going to happen would take place before my eyes. Here, I don't know. All I can do is sit. Dad's coming back through the trees now, and then I hear Ma's footsteps not far behind. "I'm calling the sheriff and ask for a search party," Dad says, and I hear a tremble in his voice, and Ma's starting to cry. We make our way down the steep path, and Dad's talking out loud, praying, I guess he is, closest he comes to a prayer. "I wish to God I hadn't riled Judd. Wish to God I'd handled that better." I could see right off I'm not the only one feeling responsible. Guess I'd thought that when you get the 38 like Dad, you don't have these questions. You just know. Now I'm seeing the other side of things. "Ray," Ma sobs, her nose is all clogged up, "you don't think Judd would come through those woods and just take Becky, do you?" "No, not even drunk. I don't think so." Dad puts his arm around me, around Ma to steady her, but his voice gives him away. He needs a little steadying himself. Shiloh's standing down at the bottom of the path, waiting for us, tail wagging, tongue hanging out, glad to see us coming back. But Dad's not glad to see him. In fact, seems to me that Dad's right foot sort of reaches out and gives that dog a push. Not blaming Shiloh exactly, but not feeling so kindly toward him either. Neither. Darylyn's standing at the screen door bawling because she don't like being left in the house by herself at night, and nobody's paying her much mind. Dad steps up on the porch and goes straight for the telephone. Ma's telling Darylyn to hush. I go up on the porch and wait for Shiloh to follow us in, the way he does when we're all on the porch in the evening. But he just trots back down the steps, goes over to the shed, and stands there wagging his tail. And suddenly my heart begins to beat faster. I leap off that porch, not even bothering with the steps, and open the door of the tool shed a little wider. And there's Becky, sprawled out on the dirt floor, head on a bag of chicken feed, her lips letting out little fluttery sounds while she sleeps. I'm so happy I shout. Then I hug Shiloh and get the wettest kisses this side of the Mississippi. I shout once more. The shout don't even wake Becky up. Her body jolts for a second, then drops right back into sleep. But now Ma's coming out of the house, and then Darylyn and Dad. "I found her," I yell. "Shiloh was looking out for her all the time. Led me right over to the shed." Everyone comes running, and I can't tell who's hugging who. Ma's hugging Becky, Dad's hugging Ma, Darylyn's hugging Shiloh, but I'm not hugging Darylyn. I'm not that far gone. I guess I'm hugging Shiloh too. Dad picks up Becky in his arms and carries her into the house, and she don't even open her eyes. Bet you could operate on her brain and she wouldn't even feel it. Ma takes off Becky's shoes and lays her down on her bed, clothes and all. And then the only thing left to do is have some ice cream. Dad calls the sheriff again to tell him the search is off, and Ma's dishing up big helpings of fudge ripple. Shiloh gets the first dish. "Would have saved us a lot of grief and worry if that dog could talk," says Dad, and he's smiling now. "He did talk. We just didn't ask the right questions," I say. "He knew Becky was in that shed the whole time. She must have gone in there to hide and fell asleep. He was watching over her, not making any fuss. It was when we all went in the house without her that he figured he ought to let us know." "Well, if I don't see Judd before next weekend, I'm going over there and settle this whole thing peaceably," Dad says. "Can't go on worrying this way every time a gun or firecracker goes off." I sleep real good that night. All right, so Shiloh's the hero. He kept Becky safe the whole time. Dogs can't talk with words, so you gotta talk other ways, right? tells us that Shiloh's in, or Becky's in the shed just by standing by the shed, not coming in the house. Said, hey, she's in here. So what a relief, right? I wouldn't think Judd would be a kidnapper, right? He's a lot of things, but a kidnapper, I'm not so sure. So, all right, chapter 10's next.